I'm not going to believe this, Matty, but our Twitter account has been cancelled. Only thing I can think is Elon Musk. Must be a Swindon fan.
You've got it. You've nailed it. That explains a lot. In fact, it all makes sense now. Yeah, he's a Robin. God, yeah, you've nailed it.
So we're a bit stuffed for socials at the minute. I will try again with our TikTok account. Our last video managed to get precisely 1 view, which was probably me. Not even you watched it. You're not down with the kids on TikTok, no?
Not yet, but I am on a digital detox at the moment with social media, so that's my excuse.
All right. Thanks for your support. And we are, though, on Blue Sky, where we've got a few followers. You are my Oxford pod at Blue Sky. So do give us a follow if you can. Listen, I'm going to start with a quick quiz, Matt. I've written down a couple of questions for you.
Go for it.
Right, question 1. There's 2 questions. I'll give you the answers at the end, okay? But just have a think the whole way through. If you get these, honestly, I'll buy you a pint next time I see you.
That'll be the first time.
You're never going to get these. When was the last time we ended the season with our top scorer in all competitions was on single figures? And who was it?
Just off the top of my head, just a few thought starters, just to get the juices flowing. Presumably it's happened quite a bit, or more than once in the last 30 years.
No.
It's quite a rare thing, is it?
A rare thing. Hold that thought. I don't want to give too much away for our millions of listeners, right, and viewers on TikTok. We'll do this as the TikTok bit. And when was the last time a defender ended the season as top scorer?
Oh, that's a good one.
And who was it?
Oh, that's a good one. All right. I'll multitask and we'll crack on, and I'll keep thinking about that.
The big man with a big goal on the big occasion.
Welcome to episode 4, everyone. I can't believe it is episode 4. Ofcom haven't taken us off air or anything like that.
Elon Musk has.
Yeah, true. Elon Musk has. So, but it's all been a bit depressing since last time we spoke. I think last time we spoke, I was speaking about playoffs, wasn't I, Dan?
Yeah, you didn't say to which division. Are they bringing back relegation playoffs? Are they, Matt? Or?
And then since then, we've not scored a goal. 1 point from the last 3 games? And we were talking about, will we get 9 points from the last 3 games? So, it was after the Stoke game we last recorded, and it has been pretty desperate since then, Dan, hasn't it?
To be honest, I'm starting to really worry, right? When the team looks as devoid of ideas at scoring goals and attacking as we look at the moment, it just reminds me of seasons gone past where we've struggled, right? I was thinking of the season where we sold Dean Windass around Christmas time, and then we just could not score a goal after that. And we just we kept drawing losing games, and I don't wish to be negative.
So rather than go through every performance and chat too much game by game, should we pick out a few kind of individual players, potentially a few talking points from the last couple of weeks, and shall we start with Mark Harris? What's going on?
So I do love him, and we can never forget what he did last season. And even when he wasn't scoring last season, and we all know he's a streaky striker, right? He showed that last season. He had that amazing start, then went ages without scoring, and then after Christmas he started scoring again, scoring. But even when he wasn't scoring, he still put in an unbelievable effort. The Wembley final, a case in point. I don't know if you saw that tweet where somebody kind of pointed out the screening he was doing in that final, and it was always there. And this season, he obviously started brilliant, 4 in 4, and since then it's been 1 in 30 or something.
Yeah, it's bad.
So I feel for the modern day striker, right? Especially in a struggling team, because your role is to press and to run the channels, and you're literally feeding off scraps.
The role of the modern striker is a very interesting one. Because, like you say, you don't play in a pair, in a partnership anymore. So it is, in some ways, a thankless task. and it's about bringing other players into the game, like you say, doing what we used to call back in the day doggies, like closing down defender and defender.
Dogging.
Doggies. So, you know, like you're throwing a ball to a dog and they're just going back and forth. Yeah.
Not dogging.
Yeah, no, not dogging. No, that's something very different. So, like, it's a thankless task. Because I'm one of those sad people who will spend like 20 minutes just watching a striker, seeing what, you know, how they're affecting the game, that kind of thing. My worry with Harris is in this kind of poor spell he's had, he's not got into many clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities. It's not like, he was unlucky not to get a couple today. You know, it's not like he's knocking on the door all the time and you think, other than, you know, I think that Bristol City chance, which we all kind of hark back to, you know, he should have put that away. But like clear-cut chances, he's not had loads. Obviously, you know, Watford away, there was that one. But it's not like, you know, every game he's having 2 or 3 chances. Like, so that's my worry. That's my worry. It's you know, in terms of where the next goal's going to come from. Like, we all love him. Of course we do, for what he's done for this club. But I am starting to think, right, we need to change.
I wanted to ask you a question, Matt, because obviously you were a striker and you played at a really decent standard and so on and so on.
Can I just jump in there? Because let's not make this a thing like I was this amazing striker. You're
the closest I've got, right, to someone who's actually played at any sort of standard.
I played non-league football at a half decent standard for a few years at Banbury United and Oxford City. So let's just put that out there. But yeah, so I can give you my perspective.
All right. So when you came into the office with your like pretend Ballon d'Or, that wasn't just actually pretend, yeah?
Hellenic League top goal scorer 99, 2000, I think, 32 goals. So I'll take that. Yeah, go on. What?
So, like, when you are playing in the team and you're the striker and the team's struggling and you're not getting many chances, that must affect you personally, right? You must be thinking, it must affect your confidence. And
of course, it does. I went through loads of streaks where I wasn't scoring. However, and I remember Kevin Brott was my manager. Kevin Brott, all he used to say was, "Keep knocking on the door. Keep knocking on the door. If just Matt, I will back you. If you even if the goal's not on, you have a little strike from 30 yards, just so you're starting to find the radar." And my worry with Harris is he's not acting like an out-and-out striker. He's not always, you know, sniffing goals, looking for goals. You know, that's my only worry. You know, so and Brocky always used to say, you know, don't worry about that one. It's the next one. It's the next one. And so, yeah, I'm just worried that it's just not enough of a predator for me, even though he is very much a kind of number 9. It's like he's not sniffing out those chances, which worries me slightly. So, yeah, that's my.
What was your longest goal famine, for instance, and how did you break it? Was it literally the one that came off your arse?
Yeah, slapper. I'm giving you all the footballing, the footballing, old school footballing terms here. Yeah, an absolute scrapper, and probably, you know, off the. I remember actually one game away at Salisbury, and I hadn't scored for ages. I was up front with Andy Baird, and it was a really tough game. Salisbury at the top of the league, and it was one of those. I think we were winning 2-1, and there was about 10 minutes left, and I hadn't scored for about 8 games. And I remember thinking, if I don't score today, I'm definitely getting dropped. And I took a shot from just outside the area, and I remember it left my foot, and I was like, oh, that's embarrassing. I'm definitely being dropped. And it bobbled along the ground, hit this divot, and went in. And I remember everyone looking at me, and we just went absolutely crazy because it was we knew we'd secured 3 points against top of the league then. This was for Banbury, and that was the end of my goal famine. And then I scored, you know, a couple, you know, next game I probably scored one, and then, you know, went on a little run. But you need something like that. But again, as Kevin Brott used to say to me, if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle. So my advice to Harris is have a few more shots, get in front of the defender a few more times, you know, back yourself.
And maybe have a word with the groundsman about digging up the penalty area so you do have a shot, it bubbles over the keeper's head.
That's it.
So yeah, we haven't got many options. I
Yeah.
guess is the thing we need to discuss. Obviously, Goodwin's gone out on loan. I don't know how he's doing. One tweet I saw, he wasn't doing particularly brilliant.
Yeah, has he been starting? I don't even know, to be perfectly honest. But...
No, we'll leave that for other pods. We've got Bradshaw, obviously injured. I can only imagine that's some kind of haircut or grooming injury. So, Ole.
I think we stick him up top.
I do too.
I
think he's looked really good. Right?
Well, I think we spoke about it after the Stoke game and go, like he was putting himself about a bit, looked confident, and then Pompey came on. He was a breath of fresh air, wasn't he? Again, had that kind of purpose, wanted the ball, and he looks a goal threat. So now, is he more of a wide player potentially? But like where we are at the moment, no goals in 3. Not, our forward players unfortunately not looking like they're going to score bundles. I'd play him through the centre. See how we go.
I don't know if you saw the video that went round when it was rumoured that we were going to sign him. It's like one of those highlight videos.
A lot of people talk about this video, don't they?
So, I mean, I thought he looked all right in it, to be fair. I heard George Ellick the other day talking about how he didn't think he looked all right in it. But I actually thought he did. But he did, as George said in that other podcast, The Dub. He did look like a number 9, right? 'Cause a lot of his goals were kind of, arriving in the box and whacking it into the net and picking up, rebounds and so on and so on, which is what we need, right?
Yeah.
We just need someone who's just going to kind of loiter around the, penalty spot and tap them in like you used to, Matt.
Exactly that. But I think it's that. I think we want a kind of a striker who is going to get those tap-ins, is going to follow up, is going to get those sclaffers over the line, And, if I was Gary Rowett at the moment, I'd be looking at him and going, give him a whirl at number 9 and playing through the centre.
Do you think Rowett fancies him? Like, because I'm not convinced he does.
So, I mean, I don't know if you listened to Radio Oxford after the game, and he was asked about Ole specifically, and I just thought he gave a bit of a non-committal answer that just alluded to the fact that maybe he didn't fancy him that much. I don't know, just a little vibe I got. He was asked about Ole's performance and how he looked bright when he came on, and he kind of went, I don't want to single out any players, and battered it down and moved on. I was like, but he didn't even caveat it by saying, yeah, he played well, but I don't want to pick any. And so, I don't know. Yeah, interesting one. I mean, I think we talked before about, Rowett definitely didn't have anything to do with the signing. So again, you wonder if that, gets the managers back up a bit or whatever. And whether he's been bought on the strength of a few videos and this link, obviously, internationally, should we say? But yeah, I don't know. That's the one thing that does concern me slightly, that maybe Rowett doesn't rate him. I don't know.
And if your manager doesn't rate you, that must be quite a difficult situation to be in, right? It's not great for your confidence if you're going on thinking, manager doesn't trust me to do this, right? That puts extra pressure on you.
Horrible feeling, because like you feel like you have to try more. You feel like you have to, prove yourself, which then probably has a knock-on effect on how you actually play. Because we've all seen those players when we almost say, you say, oh, look, they're trying too hard. But I mean, from the fleeting appearances that we've seen him so far, he looks like he doesn't have a care in the world as a footballer, which I always like. He looked like, give me the ball, I'll give it a go. If I miss, I'll want the ball again. So I quite like his attitude so far, is what I'll say. And I'd love to see him start a game.
Let's talk about the rest of the forward line. Because as we kind of alluded to earlier with Harris, it's not just him. If he's not getting the chances, then it's not just his fault. It's the entire front line. And I think it's fair to say that an entire front line isn't exactly firing. Theo's coming on later, and he's going to talk about this a little bit. He's got some kind of really interesting stats. Let's just cut to the chase. What would be your front three now?
I probably should have thought.
Put you on the spot.
I think what I would like to see in the next game is Mills start and Ole start. Then I would probably keep Dembele in. Shemi's gone off the boil a bit, hasn't he? There's no getting away from that. And, Rodriguez, it hasn't quite stepped up the play recently. My worry with, we speak about Rowett and like players he trusts and stuff like that. My worry is he likes Phillips a bit too much. And I've got to say, I've been pretty disappointed with Phillips. So yeah, I'd like to see Mills and Ole start, and I think I've said that I'd like to see Ole through the centre. I thought Mills has looked lively again, so again, give him a whirl. We need a bit of impetus. We need a bit of a change to start him, and then I think Siriki's. It's almost like we just still hope that he's going to be great. And there's flashes and you're like, whoa, but he needs a goal. He needs to be setting up a few more. I'd keep him in for the moment. One player I did want to speak about was Tyler Goodrum, because obviously I've not mentioned him in any of that. Dare we say it? I mean, because obviously such a star for Oxford. Full stop, but such a start. At the beginning of the season, in some ways, kind of dragged us through a few games. It's certainly kind of won us points along the way, but gone off the boil slightly, dare I say it?
I agree. I mean, it's difficult to say that in a way because he obviously hasn't played much. He was suspended. He's also, just become a father and probably going through all those sleepless nights and so on and so on. Also, he hasn't massively shone in the team since Rowett took over.
Correct.
Maybe, the Buckingham system was built around him a bit more. And now we've got a new manager who, I'm not enough of a tactician to explain these things. But, I always thought, with Buckingham, we seem to play through Tyler. And maybe with Rowett, he's much more kind of, as we call him, Gary Pragmat. Maybe he's just asks different things of his number 10.
Listen, I think a number of those factors, maybe. Obviously, he had that suspension, but it's just time with when Rowett's come in, hasn't it? So that's probably playing on his mind a bit as well. But I think we all want Tyler Goodrum back, and we know that an informed Tyler Goodrum is possibly the best in the whole squad. So that was a nice little roundup of all things that have happened in the last couple of weeks. West Brom next, which we'll speak about a bit later.
You are my Oxford. Theo's Stat Corner.
Okay, so it's that time of the week again. Everyone's favourite segment. It's Stats Kitchen and the now almost world famous Theo. Theo, tell us this. Are the stats as bad as the evidence we're seeing with our own eyes on them?
I think there's some wider context that may be kind of interesting when looking at what's happened in the last few games, particularly just our attacking stats throughout the whole of the season, which are actually remarkably poor. And we've not scored. In terms of goals scored, we've done all right. We've got 34. That's 18th in the division, pretty much matches with where we are. But once you kind of look at anything to do with creativity, we're starting to really struggle. And there are very few teams looking worse than us in that regard. So let's run through a couple of them. Big chances created, according to FootMob. Big chances created, 51. That's the 21st in the division. Derby, Cardiff and Plymouth, the only ones behind us. Shots on target per match, absolute rock bottom, 24th. Touches in the opponent's box, 23rd, only Plymouth sit behind us. Number of crosses, 23rd, only Plymouth behind us. And the lovely XG also putting us in 23rd with, you guessed it, Plymouth being the only team below us. And even of those big chances we have created, of the 51 that we've created, we've missed 36 of them. So we're not even taking advantage of the big chances we're creating, we're scoring through other weird and wonderful means, as we're seeing, by some of the defenders cropping up every now and then. And actually, with those big chances missed, we're 17th in the division for big chances missed, and we're around other teams like Burnley and Sheffield United. They're the ones that kind of sit with our number of big chances missed, which shows really you should only be down there if you're a good team, not missing that many chances. But we're down there because we just haven't created that many, and have missed a fair few of them. So we're in a bit of a weird spot over the course of the whole season in terms of our creative output, and it's not great.
So should we be worried then? Good.
I think the output's not great, but what's changed since Rat came in, I think we touched on it a couple of podcasts ago, is the chances we're conceding have reduced notably. And so we're not doing a lot more in terms of an attacking output, but we're stopping teams scoring against us, which obviously gives us a much higher chance of taking points from a game. It just looked pretty bleak, like when it doesn't really work. Interestingly, FootMob do what they call the Justice League, which is, I haven't honestly quite worked out how they do it, but it takes into account the XG from each game and runs simulation of like what run a match 100 times, what was the likely result. And based on all of our attacking stats and our XG, that Justice League had us 21st and only outside of the relegation zone on goal difference. So again, it's pointing to actually us struggling a bit creatively, struggling to get in front of goal, struggling to score goals, and possibly just kind of says, well, we're doing pretty well considering all of that, considering what's the standard of attacking players that our managers have at their disposal. I mean, if you look at the attacking players' contribution in terms of assists, Dembele 1 against Bristol City. Not really sure he meant to get that to Ruben in the away game. Ruben has 3, Shemi has 2, Tyler has 3. Tyler by far and away our most creative player in terms of creating chances. Obviously, he's hardly been on the pitch in the last 5 games or since he was sent off. So maybe we'll see that change over the next few weeks.
So you talked about the kind of missing the big chances. Is there any particular culprit?
Do you want to have a guess?
So we've been talking about Harris previously. How's he faring?
Yeah, so he leads by quite a long distance in terms of chances missed. He's missed 10 of those big chances that we've created. He actually doesn't do too badly when compared to the rest of the league in terms of big chances missed. The Luton strikers lead the way. They've missed between them 35 big chances, which probably shows you sort of why Luton are where they are. But Harris sits comparable to Bishop and the other kind of strikers that we've got knocking around at the bottom of the league. And in terms of his actual conversion rate, he's at 15% according to FootMob of goals from shots, and that's better than Bishop. It's better than a lot of the other strikers sort of around the bottom of the league. And it sort of again points to this issue we've got with actually creating the chances in the first place. I would argue with Harris, there's also an issue with him being in the right place to get in on the end of these shots and being onside and being on the last man properly to get chances. But I think a lot of the numbers I've been looking at for this podcast suggest that it would be really difficult for any striker in our team to score lots of goals.
I've got to ask, it looks like you're sitting in what can best be described as a stats toilet there. Is that?
Toilet? I mean, it probably was once a toilet. It's very much a little cupboard at work for taking calls. It's absolutely tiny.
It looks like you're sitting on the loo, but thank you. Is that what you told your boss? I'm just popping to the toilet, boss.
Yeah, just taking my laptop to the toilet. No, don't worry about that.
Lovely stuff. Thanks ever so much,
Right,
mate.
nice one. Cheers.
See you soon. Interesting stuff there from Theo. The other thing that happened in the Portsmouth game, well, lots of things happened in the Portsmouth game, but the thing that I am most worried about is Greg Lee's injury. Now, as listeners will know, we both love Greg Lee. And it's just been such an outlet for us on the left-hand side. how do we cope without Greg Lee?
Oh, I mean, it's one of the big disappointments of our season. I mean, he's just become such a goal threat, hasn't he? A bit of a talisman. Obviously, he's been spoken a lot about recently because he's got the goals, but I think he's just an underrated defender. I think maybe because compared to a lot of kind of modern fullbacks, he maybe doesn't look like one, but he thunders forward. He's always getting forward. He's a very strong defender. He's a goal threat. Like he's got everything in my eyes. So, massive worry. And the moment you saw him grab his hamstring, you're like, oh, I know what's happening there. So yeah, it is a worry. We've got Bennett coming back. Things happen in January, and we were speaking about players and stuff. What do we think about Curry still being at Orient? Should we have pulled him back maybe?
Obviously, everyone was raving about Curry after that Orient game against Man City, which I didn't watch. I've been away on work for 2 weeks, so I haven't watched it. But one of the WhatsApp groups I was on was alive with people saying, "Oh, isn't Curry doing well? Isn't Curry doing well?"
He was decent.
And obviously, at the time, we had Greg Lee playing well, and then obviously we've got Bennett, who's a pretty reliable backup, or maybe even like first choice. I don't know actually what Rowett would do in that situation. So it would have been harsh to then bring back Curry just to literally sit on the bench, and as we've seen, Rowett doesn't seem to keep left backs on the bench anyway. So he wouldn't even be sitting on the bench. He would literally be not even in the reserves. We don't have reserves anymore. So what would he be doing? So it probably was better him staying there. But now it looks silly, doesn't it? Right?
How do you feel about Bennett coming straight into the team, West Brom? Because you see, had a few conversations after the game, obviously, and everyone seems to think that's a foregone conclusion. Worries me slightly.
I mean, I guess you don't know. You don't know how, he wouldn't be, they wouldn't say he's ready to play if he's not ready to play, right? I guess that's the first thing. But if you've been out for 6 months and you then come straight back into a first team game, that seems like quite a risk to me, especially, and he's not he's not a spring chicken, it's fair to say. So, it could be very easily that he might pick up an injury. Touch wood, I really hope he doesn't. I guess, if you're going to stick with the four at the back, you have to play Bennett now. The other option is, I guess, you go to 3 and then play wing backs and bring in kind of Sam Long as one of the 3 at the back.
Yeah.
I don't know. But...
Things to think about. I mean, obviously, I mentioned it just there, but also Greg Lee out, and suddenly another goal threat has gone.
Only goal threat.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah. Our only recent goal threat has gone.
We talked in the last episode about that kind of free header he had, Greg Lee, against Luton. Yeah. And we were kind of saying, how could the XG be only kind of 0.4 or whatever? Meaning 4 out of 10 people would have scored that chance, or 4 out of 10 times that chance would go in. I think we've seen in the Portsmouth game with both Mills and Phillips missing those absolute free headers. Oh, no. You can see why it was a kind of 0.4. Well, that's it.
And actually, it goes to another point about Greg Lee. He's composed, he's measured in some of those key moments. And like you say, I mean, after such a dire performance against Portsmouth, actually having those chances, thinking actually we could have drawn it or possibly won it. The Phillips one, I've been playing over in my mind all week. Mills, yeah, he should have scored. Hopefully not too long till Greg Lee is back and we can continue the Greg Lee Appreciation Society.
I'm sure he's listening. Greg, if you're listening, we love you.
You are my Oxford. Hot take.
So, Dan, we really are whizzing through this. But question for you, what's happened to the hot take section this week?
I think partly because of Elon Musk banning us from Twitter. Swindon git. I think because of that, we just haven't had any sent in. So I've come up with my own hot take. And this is a theory I've been mulling over literally since we moved into the Kassam Stadium. But seeing that fence behind the goal at the far end of the ground, it took me back to when I was a kid, Matt, because we used to go, me and my brother used to go down to the local park and we'd have a kick around. In the local park, there was this little kind of five-a-side pitch. Now, one end of the five-a-side pitch, if you kick the ball over the fence, Matt, it was fine. You could just go into the park, get the ball, carry on. But at the other end, if you kick the ball over the fence, it was game over and lost ball because you're going to private gardens. Like you'd never, like you'd knock on the door, people were never there. So you never wanted to kick or shoot in that direction.
Okay. So maybe a bit more timid that way. Is that what you're saying?
You're much more timid. So you'd really hold back in your shots. Whereas if you're whacking at the other end, it didn't matter because you could whack it. And if like you spooned it, it's flying over the bar. And I always wondered, Matt, whether the fear of booting the ball into the car park,
I love this theory,
has hindered like strikers from shooting because they don't want to see their shot flying like into somebody's like windscreen. They don't.
It's not because they're worried that they'll lose the ball.
Can you imagine, lads? Sorry, game over. That's it. We've only got one ball. Sorry. Yes, I've always thought that theory. So then I looked into the stats and I contacted the club historian Martin Brodetsky, who isn't the most thorough. He isn't the most thorough of statisticians, and he said basically he lost all his stats during COVID. So I then did my own research, and I could only be bothered with this season. And I looked up this season, and lo and behold, Matt, we have scored 8 goals at the fence end. And we have scored 16 goals at the London Road end. So, what do you think about this?
It's an interesting one. I mean, I see where you're going with your theory. I've got a bit of a theory myself. I think.
Go on.
And we could almost make Harris as the test case in some ways.
Mm.
If you're feeling confident. You want to be shooting towards the east and the London Road, and of course you do. If you're maybe not in form, feeling a bit nervous about the next chance coming, and maybe you want to be at the other end, far away from anyone. So if you do miss, it's almost like. There's no one. You're not looking through the eyes of fans behind the goal. It may be my theory.
Well, this is interesting. It's almost like we kind of scripted this bit a little bit before, Matt, because it's interesting. Because Mark Harris, I've done my research into this. He scored 24 goals for Oxford United. 16 of them have been away from home. 8 of them have been at the Kassam, and only 2 of them have been at the home end.
Ooh, now you say that, I can't even visualise him celebrating in front of the home end. Yeah, wow.
So this might match your point, I guess, which is that maybe he feels much more pressure when he's got 5,000 or whatever it is in the Oxford Mail, trying to kind of look through their fingertips as he's charging through on goal. Yeah. Interesting. I also looked up Kemar Roof just as a kind of point of contrast, someone who is obviously a very natural finisher and a very confident finisher. He scored 70% of his goals at the London Road end. So,
he's 70% of confidence player.
So, confidence player. Didn't worry at all about running through with lots of people behind the goal.
Yeah, I don't know what you like, but when I was younger, if I was at football playing age, as in 20s, I would have wanted to shoot towards the stand. It would just have felt a bit weird going the other way.
It's also less far to chase the ball when you whack it wide, right?
Is that as well?
Can you imagine if you did kick it over the fence and they said, "Right, you got to go and get it, mate."
Yeah. Lovely hot take. Listeners out there, if you do have any hot takes, please do send them in because we find them really interesting. But no, I enjoyed that one, Dan.
So we've had a hot take, Matty. We love a little bit of nostalgia as well, don't we? We've reached that age of nostalgia and harking back to happier times. It's your turn this week. We take it in turns every week to talk about things that we remember about supporting Oxford United. What is it in particular you want to reminisce about?
I want to reminisce this week not about a player, not about a specific match, but about, I guess, an inanimate object. Is that right word? I think it might be.
Billy Whitehurst.
I'm talking about a stand at the old manor ground called Beech Road. The reason I want to reminisce about it, I think, is because this is where I fell in love with Oxford United. From 1985 to, when did we leave? 2001, was it? This is where I stood. And if people can remember where the kind of main stand was, I was between the main stands and the corner flag. And I should say, for the younger listeners, for those of you who never went to the manor, if you were standing behind the goal on the London Road, it's just on your, and you look to your left, that's where it was. But so many memories. It's the place I fell in love with football. So the smells, and I will always remember kind of smoked mixed with fried food. Speaking of food, the tea bar. Now, if you remember the tea bar there, it was a little shed, but it was ran by two lads. Well, it was ran by a family, but two lads who kind of served you were two lads who I used to play football with for Summertown Stars, I think. And I think they were called the Barrett Boys. A pair of kind of Artful Dodger-esque kind of chaps. If anyone does remember their name out there, let us know. But what I loved about Beech Road was you were just so close to the action. I mean, literally, I could touch the left back or the right winger. But it's where I fell in love with football because of the players that I saw up close there. So my first player that I really fell in love with was a player called Davy Langan, who was our right fullback, who just loved an overlap and loved pinging in across. But he didn't always get it right. And whenever he didn't get it right, he just used to do this big shrug of the shoulders and trudge back. And I just used to love it. I remember just watching this guy. I was just in raptures, and he used to have his socks down. And he was a bit older than the other players. And I just kind of fell in love with him. And then, of course, over the years, just having the absolute privilege to watch Joey up close. Or, even like Mike Ford up close when he was playing left back and just pinging those balls up. And just literally hearing the conversations of the players. And just a couple of memories that really stick out was, obviously you used to have the subs warming up just right in front of you. And just over the years, just saw so many kind of big names just warming up right in front of me. And I remember Burnley came to Oxford, and Ian Wright played for them, and he was on the subs bench that day. And Ian Wright, this player who I just idolised, being a striker and everything he did for Arsenal, was literally, I'm stood here, he's literally stretching his calves, facing me, and he's just chatting with everyone in the stands. So that was just amazing. But the stick the liners used to get, there was so many like comedy lines that used to be belted down from the stands, to the linesmen. But also, I look back fondly, and it's only over time. But obviously, during that time when I used to stand there with my dad, as it was, all I wanted to do was be in the London Road. All I wanted to do was be in the middle of the singing. But my dad never allowed me to, because we used to go to football together. So I think at the manor I went in London Road probably 3 or 4 times, and I was always Beech Road. And I remember I just used to be in awe of London Road, like this kind of mystical thing that I just, wanted to be a part of. But, my lot was Beech Road, and I had my exact position where I stood for, as I say, 15 years. And that's my little reminisce. Sorry, I've gone on a bit there, Dan, but I'm getting teary-eyed chatting about it.
It's nice to hear about, because that wasn't a bit of the ground I ever went into, really. I remember one game where it was the Chelsea FA Cup game, not the infamous one, but the one where Mike Ford missed the penalty really late on.
Didn't he?
He hit the crossbar. Yeah, maybe I'll edit in the footage of it. But that day, I turned up at the ground without a ticket. And it was obviously an all-ticket game. And I was just hopeful somehow to be able to kind of blag my way in or sneak your way in, which kind of wasn't impossible at the Manor Ground. But that day, I could not get in for love nor money. I was just about to get back on the coach to London when this guy tapped me on the shoulder, like down by like the coach stop, and he said, "Do you want a ticket? 25 quid," which in those days is quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
And this was like 2 minutes to 3. And so I said, yeah, all right, then I hand over 25 quid. Ran up to the grounds. Obviously, force of habit, went to the London Road. And they said, no, you've got to go right the way around the other way. So I went down to the Beech Road and got on literally just as Joey Beauchamp scored. I kind of heard the roar as I was walking onto that little kind of terrace area. And then we obviously went on to lose 2-1. I think that's the only time I ever stood there. It didn't have any cover either.
It didn't have any cover. So I spent most of my watching football early days just being absolutely soaked. But I don't know. Then there was something almost romantic about that. But yeah, it's funny you say just quickly about areas that you go in the ground. So I say I only went in London Road probably 3 or 4 times. I remember I went in Onslow Road once in my entire Manor watching career, and that was the day, again, because of where you could get a ticket and stuff like that, when Oxford beat Arsenal 3-0 on the last game of the season. I was in Onslow Road that day.
Wow.
Yeah. So and that was the only time I went in Onslow Road. But even in Beech Road, it's sitting in the main stand, I probably only went in there a couple of times. So yeah, Beech Roader. I'm proud.
Beech Roader, one of them. So, Matt, I've been listening to lots of other, I'm not going to call them rival podcasts. They're friendly podcasts. They're fellow friends and podcasters, and they've been worrying a lot about the run-in. How are you feeling about the run-in? Is it as tough as people are saying?
I mean, there's no getting away from the fact that the games are looking tougher over the next month or so, and towards the end of the season, very tough. So I think everyone is just mindful that we want to get those points on board to be safe, of course. I think when Rowett came in, we looked at that run and we were like, oh, he could, that's a nice little run, and so it proved, and we won games. I think what's maybe worrying us all is we had that fantastic start, of course, and then we went on a long wobble. And then we've had the fantastic start of Rowett, and we're just moving into a bit of a wobble. It's a bad time of the season to have a wobble. I think you look at Plymouth, picking up. You look at Pompey picking up. You see what QPR have done. Teams, they've had a bit of rejigs in January and that. Teams, it's the time of the season where teams go on little runs, and you just don't want to be caught on that kind of losing streak. So, yeah, just looking at the games that are coming up. I mean, obviously we've got West Brom, we've got Coventry, we've got Norwich, we've got Watford, we've got Middlesbrough coming up. I mean, we can pick up points there, but it's tough, right?
It's tough. And if you're not scoring goals, as I said earlier, that's when I start to worry, because you could be defending brilliantly. If you concede 1 goal and you're not scoring any, you're not going to get any points. Yeah. So it's just the lack of goals that bothers me.
So I won't be going on Saturday, family reasons, half term and all that kind of thing. Been to the Hawthorns before, absolutely love it. Are you going down?
I am going. I've never been before.
Can I do a little reminisce here at this point?
Yeah, go on then.
We've already done one of my favourite Oxford United memories, and I've had the privilege of chatting to him about the actual moment, was seeing Les Robinson score an absolute screamer away at West Brom in a game we lost 3-1 mid-90s sometime. It was one of my favourite Oxford United memories, and I've had the privilege to speak to Les about that goal in a 3-1 defeat. But yeah, it's a great away day. How are you feeling about it?
For those listening on the podcast, I'm grimacing. I'm not feeling great. I'm not going to lie. I felt really bad about the Portsmouth game. I knew we were going to lose Portsmouth, and I would have bet probably quite a lot of money on us losing 2-0 to Portsmouth. It just felt doomed. I'm not feeling great. I'm not going to lie. I'm looking forward to going. Obviously, I haven't been to West Brom.
So new ground for you. Should we do a bit more reminiscing? When was the last time we won there?
Well, I know because I've dug up the video clip already. Shall I play the video clip?
Go on then, because I could not remember this. So
this is, I think, the following season after maybe the Les Robinson goal. But we won. We went 1-0 down, and then we came back to win 2-1 with Nicky Banger, who loved a sunbed, didn't he? He loved a sunbed.
Looked like 40 was on them then as well.
And this one was from Darren Purse.
Ooh.
Darren Purse scored the winner here.
Percy, he probably enjoyed that because did he come from Birmingham? Oh, Finnish.
No, he came from East London. Came from Leighton Orient.
Oh, he came from East London, went to Birmingham. Of course he did.
Yeah. There's a friend.
So we won that 2-1.
We won that 2-1. That's the only time we've ever won at the Hawthorns, ever. Also, it was the scene of our first ever game in the top division back in 1980.
It was, wasn't it? 85-86, West Brom away.
1-1 draw.
1-1 draw.
West Brom away. Yeah.
Amazing to watch. Lovely, lovely to see that archive. And I think we just saw him there, but lovely to see Joey jinking through defences.
So that was the season that he absolutely ripped it up. He got, I think, 19 goals that season. For those of you who don't know, I spent a while after Joey died kind of trying to find all of his goals on YouTube. It was an absolute it was a labour of love. Quite a challenge at times. It involved phones to the sky and all sorts of different people trawling through kind of season videos from other clubs. We managed to find 75 of his Oxford United goals out of the 77 that he scored. That particular season, honestly, he was just unbelievable. I mean, it was just a shame that we had to kind of limit the edit to just his goals because the number of assists he had that year as well. He was literally unplayable. Obviously, we're just 3 years now from his passing. And
if you have not seen it, and Dan is obviously very modest, but as Dan just said that, Joey was unplayable. It's an amazing watch, and if you have how many minutes is it in total?
It's 15 minutes.
So if at some point over this weekend or over the next week or so, can I please just implore you to kind of put 15 minutes aside? It's a lovely way to remember Joey. Obviously, as Dan just said, 3 years since he died, and still very, very sad.
Much in our memories, even now. Nearly done, Matt. Shall we do the quiz answers?
I was hoping you'd forgotten.
You said that last time. Yeah.
No, I think.
Go on then. Think of a rubbish season. Can
we just chat about my thought process?
Yeah, go on then.
Right.
Go on.
So my thoughts were: I went down two routes. So my first thought was, when did we have a striker who wasn't the most prolific, but still maybe half decent team? So I was almost like Alex Dyer, Steve Anthropos, Matt Murphy, Andy Scott vibes. Okay. But then I thought, surely, early 2000s, it's probably quite likely to be in that time.
Very much that era, yes. So we had those two or three dreadful
the word temp.
Yeah. You'd be absolutely on the right line. So
then it's like, who was our top scorer that season, basically? So is this a season? Was this a season when we went down from the third tier to the fourth tier?
Correct. Our last season at the Manor Ground.
Oh wow! Wait a minute.
He wasn't actually a bad player, and his career record is good. I'm going to give you one more clue. I'm going to say it's not Andy Scott. It's a really good guess. A regular international.
How many seasons was he with Oxford?
2, maybe.
Oh, wow. Oh, go on. This is dead air time's not good air time. Go on.
Phil Gray, 2001.
Oh,
He got 8 or 9, I think it was. Yeah.
wow.
Not many. Okay, so the second question was...
I've really struggled with this. Go on.
So when was the last time a defender finished as top scorer for us in a season? Have a wild guess. So think of high-scoring defenders.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, high-scoring defenders. Obviously, I went Matty Elliott. Obviously, I was thinking Melville. I was thinking Steve Foster. I was thinking.
These are all good guesses. They all had like really productive seasons in their time. You're never going to get it. Yeah, you're never going to get it. The answer is Malcolm Shotton. In 1980-81, he finished top scorer with 7. He was on penalties that year.
Oh God, I'll never have got that. Never have got that. Okay.
And the reason we obviously talk about this, we are in a situation at the minute where our joint top scorer is Greg Lee with 5. So
cool.
Anyway,
it's been fun. Shall we wrap it there?
Let's wrap it up. Take care, everyone. See you in a few weeks.
The big man with a big goal on the big occasion.